Good, beautiful 14-degree morning here in northern Indiana. Just got done with a termite quote. We've been doing a fair amount of termite quotes and termite activity, and so some houses are starting to sell, houses are starting to move again, and that's when a lot of the termite activity gets found on a home inspection, wood destroying insect inspection, a WDI, and so homes are selling again because I'm getting more of these calls. We're still doing a fair amount of refinances, particularly through VA. And so good to see some homes move because there was a dry period there where there was a couple month period where we only did a couple quotes. And I know, talking with realtors, home sales almost came to a complete screeching halt. So, but that's kind of seasonal too. People get through the holidays. So homes are moving again a little bit. So that's a good sign for the economy. But just talking about termites in general, had a nurse actually talk to me the other day about how they had an inspection, it was cleared. They noted that it had previous treatment done because it had drill holes throughout the garage. And what those drill holes are in the garage, or like your concrete stoops, excuse me, are, depending on the product that you have to use, you have to go through. The whole idea is you're going to trench about a 4 or 5 inch wide trench around the exterior foundation of the house, place termiticide, and then on the interior, again, depending on what product you're using, you need to drill every so many inches. So for the longest time, basically pre-2012, 2010, you had to drill every 6 inches per the label of the termiticides used. You had to drill every 6 inches and then place termiticide there. So that's how you would create the barrier on the interior portion of the foundation. Because the whole idea is you're trying to place termiticide on each side of the foundation. Because like on the inside of say a poured concrete garage, you're gonna have a concrete slab, but you have a little bit of an expansion joint, 1/4, 1/8 inch around the interior wall, and termites can actually use that. So even if you treat the outside, there could be construction debris on the outside. So maybe if you treat the surface here and there's a rock here, well, that as that termiticide comes down, it's going to get stopped by the rock. So the termites could theoretically go under. So the whole idea is you're basically covering your basis by treating both sides of that joint. So you're setting up redundancy to help, make the most effective treatment possible. So, so when we drill the interior of those garages, that's what those drill holes are. They'll be patched with quickcrete afterwards, after they're treated. But yeah, pre-2010, 2012, it was every 6 inches. You had to vertical drill, and then you also had to horizontal drill the hollow block. So if you had hollow block, you had to drill and then place that termiticide inside the void of the hollow block, because you'll basically have the outer shell with the inner, and then you've got a void on each side. And so the idea was to drill every 6 inches, so you had termiticide in each void, again, trying to create that redundancy. So as termites came in, they would interact with that product. Really 2010, the termiticides, for the most part, were repellent. Meaning, you put that trench, of termiticide around your foundation, or here's your foundation. We pour a bunch of termiticide, we treat it into the soil, and then when the termites hit that, they go the other way. They recognize that's termiticide, they don't go there. But to use my example of like having construction debris, you have the level of the soil here, you treat across this, but if there's a rock right here, right underneath, and as you treat, now all the termiticide stops here, so 1.5 feet down, there's no termiticide. So they could literally just go under and you have a void. So pre-2010, a lot of the termiticides were repellent, very repellent heavy. And then products came along, Premise came along, Termidor HE, which I use pretty much exclusively, came along as well. And what those products do, Termidor HE specifically, it'll bind to the soil. And what happens then is it's essentially a liquid bait, meaning when those termites pass through it, they don't know that it's there. And so as they pass through that soil, they interact with that treated soil. Now one termite has it on it. And then as one bumps into another, now 2. Now those 2 termites bump into 2 others, now 4. So on and so forth. And so that's how you can get colony kill 5-10 yards away from, even the foundation. Like if it's a log pile 5 to 10 feet off the side of a garage or something, that's how you can get colony kill. Because if they're coming to feed on a piece of, wood on the garage, house, whatever you're treating, that's how you get colony kill now, because they'll actually transfer that product back and forth now. And so in termites, similar to ants, they transfer food via trophallaxis. So that's going to be mouth to mouth. They'll transfer food. And so that also helps them interact with the product and get that colony kill. Termidor is, I believe it's 90 days is what they say colony kill is once you treat and the termites interact with it. So, but just want to talk a little about termites. You know, we're in northern Indiana. We get a lot of just sort of questions and about, you know, do they stop eating in the winter? What happens? And no, they don't. But our issue is once the ground freezes here, so basically from about November, late November till about late March, I can't do any liquid termiticide treatments because the ground freezes. And so therefore I can't trench the ground to put the termiticide in, and the liquid will not go down. So, so the one I did today, you know, I quoted it, it's getting closed on, but then I have to write it up to where I cannot treat this property until the ground thaws. And so we just create verbiage, you know, to give the closing company and the bank an idea, and the homeowners, to let everybody know what the plan is there. And that's why. It's literally because the ground freezes. I can't, you know, I'll use bait stations in certain situations. Typically, I don't do termite baiting unless it's a sensitive area, meaning there's a lot of water around. Or a lot of old lake homes have this issue where they'll have sump pumps in the crawl spaces and they pump directly to the lake. And so there are specific areas, but it's 99% of the time it has to do with water. If I think there's an issue or a risk of, you know, an average house might take 75 gallons of Termidor HE. You know, if I pump 75 gallons around a foundation of a house and then it somehow leaches into the sump pump and it kicks it into that lake, I just killed that lake. I don't want to do that, obviously. And so just from a safety factor, I will use baiting in those sensitive areas, specifically around water, where I can't really control or don't know 100% where that liquid treatment's going. But out in the middle of a farm field, old farmhouse, etc., we know it's right there. You got to stay away from the well. You follow the label. The label lays it out very clearly, from well heads and etc. So, and sump pumps. And, but yeah, the termites, you know, we still see them in the winter. They're still active. You know, scrape away live shelter tubes and they'll still be going right now in the middle of January when it's 14 degrees out. But yeah, I've had a kind of a flurry of termite questions lately. And so, a lot of it again has to do with home sales, getting those inspections done. I encourage you to get a home inspection done, for the price of it, whether it's $500 to $1,000, you know, get it done, because that's going to help insure you on the biggest purchase of your life. And it might catch something like this. Yeah, an average termite job, $1,000 to $2,000 roughly, give or take, probably around the country, maybe a little more, a little less. But you know, to spend a couple $1,000s on a purchase of, you know, $300,000, $250,000, $150,000. I mean, you know, I would spend the money. So I always encourage people, we don't do home inspections, we do wood destroying insect inspections. So we do the WDIs, the termite inspections, but that covers carpenter ants, powder post beetles, carpenter bees as well, specifically in the summer when they're active. But yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about termites. Feel free to ask any questions. I've been doing this a long time, but good to see some home sales moving, some of those coming through and getting those questions again, doing some quotes. You know, January 16th, 14 degrees out. Kind of good to see that the home sales kind of uptick again. So, yeah,